today. And of course, the first segment of tonight's show is an extremely serious issue. An incident took place in Golders Green in northwest London that without a doubt has caused a lot of discussion online, on Twitter. And this particular incident has affected a family that I know very well, but also injured somebody on the roadside. And indeed, if we have a look at the clip, we'll see exactly what has taken place.
چه غلطی میکنی اینجا؟ پدر سوخته اجنبی مزدور اینجا چه گوی میخوری؟ پدر سوخته پدر سوخته پدر سوخته He's IRGC پدر سوخته مردی که پدر سوخته اجنبی Don't touch me Don't touch me Don't touch me Don't touch me هنوز زیاده پدر سوخته پدر سوخته پدر سوخته پدر سوخته چه گوی میخوری پدر سوخته یا خونده جمهوری اسلامیه پدر سوخته پدر سوخته پدر سوخته اینا مزدورای جمهوری اسلامیه تو گلدزگیری مزدور آیا چیزی تروریست 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 You are terrorist! Terrorist! Terrorist پاش بده! Terrorist! 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 Terrorist!
I'd like first and foremost to apologize for the language that you heard on that particular clip. Now, as you can all see, there's clearly tensions because of what's happening geopolitically around the world. And these tensions do sometimes spiral over into the British community. Minhal, you could see exactly what's taken place. And, you know, we've all seen how this has been simmering for a while. It's been simmering between different groups in northwest London in particular. It's escalated into Birmingham and into Manchester. So whenever you're going to see, for example, in this period of the last couple of years, you've got either the pro-Iranian government versus anti-Iranian government. And some might be described as pro-Shah in terms of their leniency, in terms of their leaning politically. And unfortunately, what we've seen is that outside certain mosques, there have been demonstrations. And these demonstrations are, of course, demonstrations mainly led by people who are anti the Iranian establishment. And so this has always, unfortunately, led to violence. There's always been a call for violence. There's been a call to protect the mosques. Especially in the Shia community, because some mosques which are being attacked are the ones which are seen as designated Iranian sleeper cells. And of course, this simmering is now reaching a boiling point where, as you could see in this clip, many people who don't know who's involved, let's say you're just looking at it on social media, you don't know who's involved, you're probably going to listen to the opinion of somebody who'll say that this is two members of the IRGC, okay, or that these are two Iranian terrorists. The fact is that somebody like myself is privileged enough to know most of the Shia community in the UK. And because of that, I know a number of families. I've grown up with a number of families in the community. I've lectured in a number of households. I've lectured pretty much in every mosque in the UK. I know the two who are involved here. So I know the family that they're from. I've seen them grow up since childhood. And because of that, I'm in a position to be well informed, to be able to say that these are not Iranian IRGC sleeper cell terrorists who are active in Golders Green. You know, sometimes some of you may have seen this situation in your life where you see someone on the news and everyone's like, this guy's this guy's that. And you're at home thinking, I'm sure this guy is someone we had like Timman Uqima with last week in our house. Or like, guy's been in the Husseiniya for years. I know who this guy is. And so when I'm looking at what's happened over here, I'm in that privileged position that I know who these people are. But many online would not know. So many online will just see what the next clip shows. And this next clip will then be used to form a narrative. So let's have a look at this next clip. Okay. Now, when you've seen this next clip, and we do offer our prayers for whoever's injured over here, then we don't want to see people injuring each other because of a difference in political opinion. And yes, the tensions had risen, they had escalated. And of course, you'll see that in the comments, what's normally written, what's written is that look at these Iranian terrorists, look at the way that they have driven their car over this person. Now, as we saw in the first clip, that there is a constant barrage of abuse against two families who clearly have their wives or their sisters or their mothers with them. So now let me try and give you a narrative of what took place in Golders Green so that everybody understands, because you see two videos. You got one video where a person is approaching a car, another video where someone is run over. And now how do you reach a conclusion on both of these? What happened was that it was Eid. And on the day of Eid, everybody goes to visit their family members, or everybody contacts family members, or everybody wishes Eid Mubarak to their family members. And the two brothers that you see, or the two members of our community that you see, one who is a cleric from our community, and the other who is his cousin, they've both gone to see their auntie in Golders Green. When they've gone to see their auntie in Golders Green, the cleric has gone in the clerical garb. Now we know that clearly is the Shia clerical garb. And that clerical garb of the Shia is not too different to the clerical garb of the Sunni Imam. You'll find that there are certain Sunni Imams, for example, in Iraq or in Egypt, who will wear a turban, who will wear like a cloak, and might wear, for example, a long, what we will call a abaya or a dishdasha. He has gone in that clerical garb. And anybody in the clerical garb has to be respected when they are going, at least when they're walking in the street. I respect, for example, someone Hindu in their garb, someone Sikh in their garb. And some members of the Sikh community have been attacked simply because they're wearing turbans, and people then assume that they might be Muslims. So whoever is a rabbi in his garb, if he's a priest in his garb, if he's a Muslim in his garb, at the end of the day, when you see somebody in the garb, you don't then automatically go and attack them. And on top of that, then start cursing nonstop on them. They've gone to see their auntie. When they've gone to see their auntie, who lives in Golders Green. Now we know Golders Green. Golders Green is predominantly a Jewish area. But that doesn't mean no Muslim can live in Golders Green. At the end of the day, Hampstead is a predominantly Jewish area. Some of my closest friends live in houses in Hampstead and they're Muslim. And we know that Billionaires Row in Hampstead, the Bishop's Avenue, I think half of the properties is owned by royal families of a Muslim background. A person can be in St. John's Wood, and they could be a part of the community where there are synagogues, and in St. John's Wood, you have Regent's Park, mosque. So it doesn't mean that just because there's an area that is predominantly, but because Golders Green has a very strong Jewish community, the Jewish community has certain allowances in the British legal system. You may have, for example, their own ambulances. They might even have their own surveillance. They might even have their own courts ruling systems on certain areas. And so when the two brothers who had gone to see their auntie, when they had got out of their car, they felt that they were already seeing members of the Shomrim taking photos of them. And then when they politely asked that we don't want photos to be taken of us, why are you taking photos of us? If I'm going to visit my auntie and I look across the road and I see there are people who are taking photos of me, they could be taking photos for one reason or for another, but there's no need to be recording and taking photos. Why is there paparazzi when I've gone to visit my auntie's house? So then what happens is when they actually leave their auntie's house, that's when we see not only are there members of the Jewish community there, but there's members of the pro-Shah, anti-Iranian regime activists. And what you saw was a hurling of abuse and insults of the worst type, which were leveled against the person in the clerical garb. Now, that person who's in the clerical garb, and I don't want to start mentioning names for legal reasons. I'm going to keep everything, the narrative, without mentioning names for legal reasons. That person who's wearing the clerical garb, what is the proof that you have that this is IRGC or that his cousin's IRGC, when I can tell you that these two are the furthest away from that world entirely? I know the cleric, and I know where he's studied, and I know his family background, and they are the furthest away from IRGC sleeper cells. And his cousin, who clearly had been provoked and angered to eventually, unfortunately, cause these injuries. And as I said, we pray that everybody recovers. I don't like to see this hatred that exists. When you are coming and hurling abuse at somebody with their wife and their kids, or somebody in the car with their mother, what do you expect the reaction to be, number one? Number two, do we now live in a Britain where any of us who are Shia, who wear a clerical garb, are going to be attacked straight away because we are meant to somehow represent Iran and the establishment of Iran and the Iranian government? You do know that in the Shia community, that there are people who are clerics who come from Iran, from Iraq, from Saudi Arabia, from Bahrain, from Lebanon, from West Africa, from East Africa, from Afghanistan, from Syria. They are all of different persuasions. Politically, some are quietists, some are more outspoken. There are some who are very active politically, and there are some who do not side with anything politically. The person, by the way, who you attacked, and the cleric who we saw who was attacked, is somebody who has studied in the Hawza of Najaf and under teachers who are not known to be the most politically active teachers, who are calling for revolutions or calling for governments and so on and so forth. So now when you are coming and making these accusations, is this the Britain that we're going to live in? Sometimes when I go for my lectures, I will wear the garb. Does that mean that I'm going to be attacked? Because automatically, because I'm wearing a Shia garb, every Shi'i has to have the same political worldview and the same political opinion and the same political narrative? The reality is, when we hear stories about London, Birmingham, Manchester, we don't want to see people attacked. Members of the Jewish community should not be attacked. Members of people who differ with us politically should not be attacked. And certainly the slanderous comments of trying to say we, the Jewish community, are with the Iranian community in fighting terrorism. The less I say about Judaism and its relationship with terrorism at the moment in the Middle East, the better. We won't go in that direction because there's too many, I think, Carlsons and Morgans who've touched that already. Although it might bring us a baffled of the week for later on. But it's important for us when we're looking at all of this. There's a few things to be said. Let me be very clear. From childhood living in this country, I have friends of mine who are Iranians, and Iranians who may be very pro-Shah and very anti-government, anti-mullahs, anti-akhunds. They still mates of mine, and we learned how to grow up together, and we played football together. And in many cases, they even respected me when I achieved whatever I achieved in my life. Even though their lifestyles may have been different from me, some of them still respected the fact that their grandmothers were still religious and they still had a relationship with Imam al-Hussein and Karbala and so on. We shouldn't paint everybody who differs with us with the same brush, but we ask for the same as well. That when somebody wants to say that all the Shia must support X, or all the Shia believe in Y, or all the Shia are to blame, that's not the way forward. And that certainly is not the way that you're going to achieve change. Secondly, if we're going to live in a Britain where a Shia scholar or cleric can be attacked and can be sworn at with their family members by anybody, this is definitely not the Britain that we signed up for. In all honesty, the person involved is frightened. In the same way, I don't like to see somebody run over. And in the same way that I cannot accept that violence is the solution. But somebody's got to ask this question. If a rabbi came out of his auntie's house and was punched or attacked with his family members, would be all over the news for anti-Semitism is on the rise. The Semites may be members of the Jewish community, but also members of the Arab community. So in this situation, there is also a form of anti-Semitism. And a person has to call this out, that if it was any other faith, then people would be in uproar. So why is it when it comes to a Shia cleric being attacked and being slandered the way that they were slandered, all of a sudden they are accused of being all sleeper cells? That's why when I saw this clip, I was in disbelief because I know the two people who are involved. But look what you could do on social media. You can turn a whole story around as you want to. Look at this final clip over here.
Breaking news, there was a terrorist attack yesterday in London by the Islamic Republic.
Stop here. Stop here. Breaking news, there was a terrorist attack by the Islamic Republic. So these two, the cleric and his cousin, are now representing the Islamic Republic. What evidence we have, I haven't got a clue. Number two, if you notice, the clip goes straight to the driving incident. Why is there no mention of the slander and the cursing that was there a few minutes earlier? Why is there no mention of that? Why does it just straight away go to this particular moment? Please continue.
Breaking news, there was a terrorist attack yesterday in London by the Islamic Republic. Two sleeper cells from the Islamic Republic were there, and the Iranian people were actually able to identify them. Once they were recognized, they tried to escape. Here's a picture that people were able to take from these guys.
Two sleeper cells were identified. Who's identified them? Who said these are sleeper cells? I have no problem if you have a political persuasion, and I may believe that you have been unjustly treated. And that there are even people who are members of the Iranian traditional community who believe that there are grievances and injustices that have taken place. But don't make up slanderous comments and don't make up rumors about two people. You cannot begin to generalize on absolutely everybody. In the same way, there are different colors for your ideology and your worldview. There are different colors when it comes to the traditional worldview as well. Not everybody has to agree with each other, even though they may be on a similar direction. People can be more conservative or more liberal in some cases. So all in all, I pray for all of those involved, in all honesty. And I pray that this tension that exists and that has been simmering ends once and for all. If we disagree with each other on certain things, there's no need for us to attack and try and kill and slander and hurt one another and families and children involved.